I thought we should talk about whether or not the Falcons could still trade for Trey Hendrickson after signing Leonard Floyd. Now, quick refresher on all the moves the Falcons have made so far. Some of their signings, most recently, Mike Ford, Taquan Graham, KhaDarel Hodge, so 2 re-signings here. Now, these things are always fluid. We're filming this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., so there's a chance by the time you're watching this, someone else has been signed, like maybe center Ryan Newsel, who I think might be tendered, but I haven't really seen enough confirmation to say it for sure. Now, before we get to the Hendrickson portion of the show, one quick request from me. Help us reach 34,000 subscribers. We have gone live for 4+ hours, and if you've been watching our live content, you know what a wild ride it's been. Shout out to Overlord for that. But let's get ourselves to 34K. Click that subscribe button down below if you have not already. So, Hendrickson, could he come to Atlanta? I don't believe the Leonard Floyd signing should satisfy Atlanta's itch for a pass rusher. I think it's a good signing. It's an improvement from what you had last year. He has been around 8 to 10 sacks for the past 4 years. Shame on me for saying he's been some level of inconsistent. No, he's still been a good player who sure is getting up there in the age column, and maybe he's not quite as good as he was with the Rams when they won the Super Bowl, but I still think Floyd can be a high-level player. I still think he can deliver maybe 8 or 9 sacks this year, which would be way better than anything we had last season. Now, as for Hendrickson, I've seen the Bengals are looking for a first-round draft pick. I'm old enough to remember when the Seahawks wanted a first and a third, and they settled on a second. So the Bengals may say they want a first. They may not be getting a first. Now, the Bengals are kind of in a weird spot here because it's not fair to compare this to the DK Metcalf situation. The Bengals are still trying to win, and trading a guy with 17.5 sacks is not going to help your defense, which was already very bad last year. In fact, back-to-back seasons with 17.5 sacks. So, the Bengals, I don't think, are really motivated to Trey Hendrickson. They would like to have him back, and they would like Trey to be okay with playing on his pre-existing contract. The real question is, will Hendrickson threaten a holdout, or are the Bengals actually looking to move him? Like, do they feel like now is the time to sell, let's sell high, and let's get some draft picks? I'd be surprised if Cincinnati has much motivation to deal a guy who's been a top 5, without a doubt, pass rusher over the last 4 years like we just saw. But Atlanta has a huge need, and I'm going to say to the question of, does signing Leonard Floyd kill the opportunity of trading or kill the possibility of trading for Hendrickson? I'm going to say no-ish. It definitely takes a huge hit to that chance. But I might have said when they first signed Floyd, that kills this idea. I'm willing to reel that back in a little bit. Not a ton, but I still think there could be a chance that Atlanta goes, we still need more pass rushers, and if Hendrickson's price begins to drop a little bit, then we could play game. But if the asking price is a first and it means that they're willing to take a second, only 5 picks in the draft, as we all know, and I don't believe they're willing to part ways with their second rounder for a 31-year-old pass rusher looking for a big new deal. Also, I don't fully believe what I'm about to say next, but I'm going to say it with some truth behind it. Maybe this is not the offseason to give up a second rounder for a 31-year-old defensive end. If you had a full season of Michael Penix where he looked awesome and the Falcons made the playoffs, okay, yeah, hell yeah, build around him, right? You haven't gotten that just yet. I still am encouraged from what we saw from Penix in 3 games, but maybe you should wait for next offseason to make this type of move. I don't want to see Atlanta part ways with a valuable second, get good play out of Hendrickson, but Michael Penix and the offense can't quite do enough to push this team into a good playoff position. And it's like, well, timing wasn't quite right. Where respect the idea and you had good intentions of now's the time to strike. If you feel like you've got a good rookie QB on that contract, go out and get some veteran players that usually you wouldn't trade for because you want to keep your picks and get younger players. And that makes sense sometimes, but I think it's worth scaling back. I hate myself for saying that, but I think it's not the worst thing in the world to go, let's wait and see how Penix does this year, and then next offseason, If he looks terrific, but our defense is still lacking, that's the time to make a 31-year-old acquisition. For now, keep the second probably, and get a young defensive end. Trey Hendrickson was a third-round pick, right? So try and find your next Trey Hendrickson. Maybe lines up a little bit better with the Falcons' timeline when Penix could really have this team in a spot where they are a playoff contending team. Because right now, there's a lot of just wishful thinking, but we got to see it to believe it first. So would you give up Atlanta's second rounder for the Bengals defensive end? I'd probably talk myself into it, and I probably wouldn't be upset for the Falcons if they did it. But I think I might say no. And I don't think I would have said that a few weeks ago. But take the 15th overall pick. Go get maybe Mykel Williams. We'll talk about some Georgia Bulldogs in a minute. Him and Leonard Floyd. I think you can get some good solid pass rush out of that. And then use that second rounder on a corner potentially. Floyd, not a bad player at all. I don't think anyone's trying to advertise Floyd as bad, right? He's getting older, but 8.5, 10.5, 9.5 sacks. He's been, living out of a suitcase a little bit with the Niners in 24, with the Bills in 23. He was with the Rams before that. He's been hopping around a little bit, but still a very good player. So I think Floyd can probably be a very good number 2 edge rusher for you. And I'm not trying to convince anyone that Arnold Ebiketie is going to be the future of that position. But at the 15th overall pick in a loaded edge rusher class, you should feel confident that as a GM, you can identify someone that can make a good impact their rookie year. And next season after that, if you still need more pass rush help and Penix looks like he's the real deal, that's probably the better time to trade for an older veteran player who doesn't have probably more than 2, maybe 3 more years of being a double-digit sack kind of guy. Let's switch gears altogether, and let's talk a little bit about probably a lot of your favorite college team here, a lot of you guys' favorite college team. That was weird. Maria Martin tweeting out, I've covered a ton of Georgia Pro Days, and this is the largest Falcons contingent I've seen. Could the drought end of the Atlanta Falcons boycotting the Athens Bulldogs? There are 4 Falcons that I've seen, 4 Georgia Bulldogs that I've seen tossed out there as potential picks for Atlanta early-ish in the draft. Mykel Williams, Malachi Starks, Jalen Walker, all guys I could see going around pick number 15. Jared Wilson, I think, is more of a day 2, early day 3 draft pick. But let's focus on these 3 guys right here. Mykel Williams, no one's got a real official time, but allegedly ran around a 4.6-ish 40-yard dash. Pretty 4.6A. Not the fastest. James Pierce for Tennessee was sub 4.5, but man, for how big Williams is, he can definitely move, that's for sure. Now, the production has always been a little bit of a concern. People thought there'd be a bigger 2024 season from him. I think it's fair to point to the ankle injury he had early on as something that probably limited him a little bit. But as someone who preaches the importance of production for an edge rusher, I do find myself every so often kind of falling in love with the frame and the athleticism that Williams has and how great that would be at the next level. He could probably play a little outside linebacker, maybe a little bit defensive end. He, like so many other Bulldogs, is just an incredible physical specimen. So, Mykel Williams, I think, is a very good target to keep an eye on. Picking at 15, it's just hard to really zero in on 1 or 2 guys. You don't quite know who's going to be there, but I'm fairly confident he will be available. Another Bulldog, Jalen Walker, the linebacker who became more of an edge rusher for UGA this past year. 6.5 sacks, 34 pressures. I don't think he's going to be an edge rusher at the next level. I don't think he's big enough to truly come off the edge against NFL tackles. I think he's going to be kind of like Caden Ellis, an inside linebacker who can rush the quarterback, who you can draw up some fun blitz packages for. I don't want another Caden Ellis. I don't want to sound like a 5-year-old at Toys R Us. I don't want that. You got good linebacker. You got Caden Ellis. We'll see if Troy Anderson stays healthy. You just signed Divine Diablo, whatever his name is. Walker is a great football player. No question about it. I want an edge rusher. And I want to get what I want here. And I think Walker's going to be an off-ball linebacker who people blitz, and that's good, but that's not the step that the Falcons need to take in correcting this defense. So I'm not over the moon excited about the prospect of drafting Walker from a pure positional fit for Atlanta. Lastly, Malachi Starks. This player stole Jeff Ulbricht's breath. He was flying across the field. Ulbricht thought it was one of the best combine performances he's seen, I've read. He was making some great plays on the ball. And with Leonard Floyd signing, if they add another edge rusher, what if the Falcons go, hey, it's a super deep edge rusher class. We can get a good pass rusher in round 2. Let's take the best player on our board, Malachi Starks, at pick 15, put him with Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell and Mike Hughes, and then we've got round 2 edge rusher, the Boston College guy, who I still need to learn how to pronounce his name, and Leonard Floyd. Braylon Trice is coming back. Arnold Ebiketie. That's not going to be our pass rushing unit for years to come, but that's going to help us somewhat band-aid a little bit what was a dreadful pass rushing unit last year. But we'll be very happy with ourselves when we've got 2 unbelievable safeties with us. That might be a little bit overkill for the safety position. It is for me. I still would prefer to go with the pass rusher. You know, I always said that my tombstone one day will say, in the first half, take the points, and in the draft, take the best player available. I think I got to break that rule when you finish 31st in sacks and you're 32nd in sacks since 2021. You might think Starks is going to be a Pro Bowl guy. And maybe he will be, probably will be. But he ain't getting the quarterback. And Atlanta's not going anywhere until they sack the quarterback. So I'm going to break my own rule. It has to be a pass rusher. So let me know which player you would pick. I would rank them 1. Walker's such a good player. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And this will probably age poorly when Starks is terrific. But there's only so much influence a safety can have on a game versus an edge rusher. You know what I mean? So 1, 2, 3 for me. That's why Williams, like I've been saying, would be my preferred target. The production definitely gives me a little bit of the yips. I'm willing to chalk some of it up to the ankle. It's better than Shamir Stewart at 1.5 sacks. But I was hoping to see a bigger year from him. So I have some hesitation. I don't really have a favorite just yet for Atlanta because they're all the same position, right? You've got Williams, Mike Green, James Pierce Jr. There's a lot of really good edge rushers in this class. By the time we get a week or so out from the draft, I promise at that point I'll have a clear, concise rankings top to bottom. But let's get through the pro days and kind of get all the intel in and then make a more informed decision. All right, that will do it for us. Once again, I want to show some love to Overlord, to everyone who has been tuning into our live free agency coverage. If you haven't yet, I promise you're missing out. If you have been tuning in, tell someone in the comment section to come back tomorrow because it's a blast and it's an opportunity to get some Falcons free agency content. And if Overlord comes back tomorrow, you can make $50.